Laura Kinney returns today as the Wolverine. Welcome to the Comicstorian Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then we read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to support the industry and go check them out at your local comic shop. After the fall of Krakoa, many mutants have struggled to find their place in the world. And Laura, once known as X-23, is no exception. But today, she returns as the Wolverine in Laura Kinney Wolverine #1 by Erica Schultz. I hope you enjoy. New York City. 3 women walk down the street at night. Laura Kinney looks on at her 2 friends. She doesn't know how they can act like everything is normal after what happened in Krakoa. Although she admits that Kamala is usually endlessly optimistic, but Laura only sees the horrors of the world. Even when they are out for a relaxing evening, her head is constantly on a swivel. Their walk takes them to Central Park, where the trio stop to look at the treehouse. The former home of the X-Men is now a memorial of those who were lost during the Orcus attack on Krakoa and the world. But Laura isn't looking at the memorial. Her eyes snap to the blue-skinned mutant that huddles nearby, the smell of fear coming from her. The woman jumps up quickly as she sees the others approaching. "I don't want any trouble," she says quickly. But Sophie steps forward with a smile, reaching out with her powers to speak directly into the girl's mind. "It's okay, we won't hurt you," she says. But it doesn't have the desired effect, and the blue-skinned girl runs off. "Leave me alone!" she shouts. And the 3 heroes are stunned, but Kamala turns to her friend. "I told you, not everyone's cool with you just jumping in their heads," Kamala points out to Sophie. Kamala and Sophie look around the memorial for a few minutes before deciding to go get some food. But Laura waves them off. She senses something. "I'll catch up with you later," she says as she turns back towards the tree. Her friends shrug and leave her alone, and in moments, Laura is staring at the memorial by herself. She pops her claws and reaches out, pulling a knot away to reveal a hidden cache and a note. She reaches out for it and takes a delicate sniff, sensing the blue-skinned mutant. Opening the letter, Laura reads a note from the young woman, asking anyone to help her find her brother, who has gone missing from their home in Moldova. Laura stares at the picture of a blue-skinned boy who has the ability to make others feel his feelings. Anger flashes over Laura's face as she crumples the note. No one should get held against their will for someone else's pleasure. Laura thinks to herself as she slams the fake knot back into place. "I guess I'm going on a trip," she tells herself. 16 hours later, she is walking through the airport in Dubai. She moves quickly, her eyes scanning for trouble. She doesn't have any information to go on, but she knows that there's a part of the city where one can get information. Every city has a place like that. Suddenly, Laura turns as someone comes up behind her. "Are you here for refuge?" a young woman asks, introducing herself as Polly. "I run Oasis. It's a safe place for mutants," she says with a smile. Laura takes a step forward. "Who said anything about mutants?" she snaps. But Polly raises her hands to calm Laura. "I know you're a mutant. That's my ability," she explains softly. Laura shakes her head, demanding to know what Oasis is and who funds it, knowing a large part of the world has returned to hating mutants. But Polly explains that they have a benefactor that pays for everything. "Sounds sketchy," Laura says with a glare. She holds up a picture of Ivan. "You want to help me? Have you ever seen this mutant?" she asks. Polly studies it for a moment before shaking her head. "I don't recognize him," Polly says. She holds out a hand, asking Laura what else she can help with. Laura thinks on it for a moment before nodding. "You can take me to the other side, where the real nasty ones hang out. I'm here to save mutants too, but my way can be kinda messy." Later that night, Laura walks into the Delta Disco. She moves through the strobing lights and thumping music, her eyes glancing around at the mutants and humans mingling. Polly had told her that some of the mutants that had gone missing were last seen here. She sits in a booth, watching the interactions of the club, waiting for something to happen. One of the big guys behind the bar heads out, and Laura takes the opportunity to gather some information. Moments later, she is watching from a nearby rooftop as the bouncer takes a hit of some drug. She prepares to move, but the goon looks up at the wrong moment and sees her. "Bastard!" Laura growls as she leaps down, not wanting to miss her chance. But the thug reaches out, his hand growing much larger as he grabs her out of the air. "Gotcha!" he says with joy. Laura is shocked as the mutant hits her again and again. He wraps his hands around her, but she pops her foot claws and slashes his forearms, bringing him down quickly. "Gonna kill you!" he gasps as she slashes his leg, but Laura stands over him, holding out the picture of Ivan. "Have you seen this kid?" she demands. The goon smiles and nods. "Yeah, he's one of the special ones. He lives with the madam," he says, explaining that the madam keeps all the high-value mutants at the Burj. Laura leans down and glares at him, bringing her claws dangerously close to his neck. "They're not merchandise. They're people. You're a mutant. How can you be a part of this?" she growls. The thug shrugs. "The world's gone to shit, but I'm gonna get mine," he snaps back. Laura lashes out quickly and hits him hard enough to knock him out. She turns away with a look of disgust and leaves the thug in the alley. Wasting no time, she heads through the city's streets until she arrives at the Burj, a vast tower that raises up into the night sky. Inside the building's elevator, she tears off her civilian clothes, revealing her Wolverine costume beneath. When the elevator doors open, she discovers two guards waiting for her. They raise their guns in surprise at the appearance of the costumed hero, but Laura moves fast, ducking under their attacks and knocking the guards out quickly, barely breaking a sweat as she moves deeper into the building. Meanwhile, in the madam's suite, Cybele looks around at the small party she is hosting. "We're having a good time, everyone, yes?" she asks as she raises her champagne glass. On a nearby couch, Ivan is shifting away from a partygoer. "Come on, you gave me some before," the man says. But Ivan shakes his head, his eyes staring at the floor. "No, I'm tired," Ivan says softly. Cybele is there in moments, the champagne glass starting to melt in her hand. "Ivan, dear, this mutant paid good money for your gifts. Do not disappoint him," she says harshly. The doors suddenly crash inwards, and everyone looks up in surprise as Wolverine stares around the room. Recognizing some mutants from Krakoa, her eyes fell on the madam. "You! I saw you on Krakoa. How could you do this? You're hurting other mutants," Laura asks. Cybele smiles at her. "I was just another random mutant in Krakoa, resurrected to help fill up the island. I was slaughtered by the Marauders alongside the Morlocks. When I was brought back, I swore I would never be a victim again. Now I'm on top, and I'm gonna stay that way," Cybele explains. She raises her hand quickly, and acid shoots from her palms, splashing into Wolverine's eyes, causing her to cry out in pain. "Get her out of here!" Cybele shouts to her guards. The thugs rush forward, but even though Laura can't see, she can still smell them. Her claws pop as she leaps and twirls, cutting through several of the thugs. One loses his hand, but it regrows even faster than Laura can heal. Someone grabs her from behind and flings her across the room, ripping her mask off in the process. But her eyes have finally begun to heal, and Laura turns to see Cybele pulling Ivan away into an elevator. Staggering to her feet, Laura gives chase, but rips open the elevator doors too late and watches as the car rumbles towards the ground floor of the tower. Turning quickly, Laura dashes towards the window and leaps. The glass shatters outward as Laura leaps into the night air, popping her claws and digging them into the side of the building, slowing her descent as she slides towards the ground. When the doors open below, Cybele finds Wolverine waiting for her, claws already popped. "Let him go," Wolverine orders. Cybele glares at the hero and raises her hand, throwing more acid. But Wolverine is ready for her now and leaps through the air, dodging the attack quickly. She rushes Cybele and grabs hold of the woman, bringing her claws up close to Cybele's throat and drawing a small amount of blood. "This kid suffered enough. Don't make me kill you in front of him," Laura growls, motioning to the scared Ivan nearby. With the fighting finished, Ivan rushes to Laura and gives her a hug. His mutant powers slide over her, and she feels his happiness passing between them, actually making Laura smile, and she pats him on the back gently. "It's okay. You're okay," she whispers. A little while later, Polly and the police arrive, arresting Cybele and her goons while Polly offers a place for all the kidnapped mutants. Laura watches nearby, hoping that the young mutants will take the offer of help. Finally, Polly joins her. "You knew, didn't you, Polly? You knew there were just as many abusive mutants as there were humans," Laura asks Polly. The young woman shrugs. "Mutants aren't perfect, and humans aren't always to blame. But Laura, your fight is still important," Polly tells her. They both watch as the police walk by with Cybele in cuffs. "You're pissing off the wrong people, Wolverine. You better watch your back." Cybele snaps at Laura as she passes. Laura nods. "Anyone who hurts mutant Cybele are the wrong kind of people," she retorts. Laura finally sighs and looks to Ivan, promising to get him back to his sister soon. "I'm sorry I misjudged you. You're really doing a good thing here. Maybe you should set up an oasis in New York," Laura tells Polly. The young woman smiles and puts a hand on Laura's shoulder. "It's a thought. Stay safe, Laura," she says. Later, in Central Park, Emery sits in front of the memorial and cries, hoping that someone read her note. But she looks up as someone calls her name. Tears spring to Emery's eyes as she sees Ivan running towards her. The siblings hug, and finally, Emery looks up to see Kamala and Sophie standing nearby. "I don't know what to say," the young woman says with tears in her eyes. But Kamala shrugs and smiles. "Laura's a hero, and we're happy to help," she says. But Laura isn't there. She has found another note at the memorial and has decided that this is her new mission, to help mutants who no one else will help. She has also been given some tips, and a weapon shipment is coming into the pier in Hell's Kitchen. As Wolverine, she moves across the rooftops of the city, but it doesn't take long for the guardian of Hell's Kitchen to find her. The smell of lavender and jasmine drifts through the area. "I thought you'd come," Wolverine growls. She turns and pops her claws. Hell's Kitchen is Daredevil territory. Elektra snaps from behind her Daredevil mask as she leaps towards her. And that concludes the first issue of Laura Kinney Wolverine. Personally, I think she's the best Wolverine, and I thought this was a solid start to her new run. But what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Ben.